Brandon Ingram continued to improve over the course of the 2021 through 2022 season, and he ultimately helped the Pelicans take the #1 team in the NBA during the regular season to 6 games in the first round of the playoffs. Now, I want to take a look at some of these improvements that Brandon Ingram has shown because he's kind of flown under the radar. I don't know if he's gotten underrated or if people just aren't paying enough attention, but Brandon Ingram has shown tons of improvements, and even though he's been in the NBA for 6 years now, he's still only 24 years old, and for all intents and purposes, he's not even in his prime yet. So I want to take a look at some of these improvements and what they mean for the Pelicans going forward as they bring Zion Williamson back into the fold to put alongside Brandon Ingram with the hopes of making an even deeper playoff push next season. Now, Ingram's shown a lot of improvements in almost all areas of the game, but his progression as a playmaker, in my opinion, has been the biggest evolution that he's shown. He wasn't really touted as a high field player during his time at Duke, even though he proved that he was capable of handling the ball and being the focal point of an offense, but over the last 2 seasons, he's not only become a reliable playmaker, but he's actually become a really, really great playmaker. Now, a lot of the value that Brandon Ingram provides as a playmaker is predicated on his scoring ability. We know that great scorers are going to demand more defensive attention. If you're a high-level scorer who can also make smart passes, then your playmaking is going to be really, really valuable to your team. Now, we should all be well aware of how capable Brandon Ingram is when it comes to creating his own shot off the dribble or getting to the rack. Now, with the defensive attention that he demands, defenses are either forced to devote more resources to containing him or just let him try and beat you in one-on-one situations, which in some cases, the latter might be a viable strategy. But the reality is his unpredictability and ability to create advantages through his ball handling make the task of defending his scoring a little bit easier said than done. Like on this play, he's attacking the middle of the floor off of the screen, and Grant Williams is going to fight over to try and double Ingram's pull-up jumper. Ingram is going to wait until the very last second to bail out of the shot to a trailing Valanciunas, who then goes on to nail the mid-range shot. Here, the Pelicans are going to run a Spain pick and roll where Valanciunas screens for Ingram, and Graham is going to set a screen on Valanciunas' man. This is going to force Kevin Durant to tag Valanciunas on the roll, which leaves Josh Hart wide open in the corner for the knockdown 3. On this play, he drives to the right side off of the screen, forcing his defender to trail him and force Poeltl into drop coverage to protect both him and the roller. Ingram recognizes the drop coverage that's being played, and he recognizes that this leaves him with an open pull-up. But when Lonnie Walker commits, Ingram is going to be able to kick out to the corner for Hart to have an easy job of attacking the closeout for the dunk. Now, it's one thing to be running set plays because there are a lot of guys in the NBA who can make passes based on some X's and O's that have been rehearsed time and time again in practice. It's an entirely different thing for a player to be making split-second decisions like this that result in high percentage looks for their teammates. He's a major reason why the Pelicans are able to get away with not having a true point guard that's focused on nothing other than facilitating the ball. Ingram is just such a good playmaker that right now there's not an immediate need for a true point guard. May there be down the line as they get deeper into the playoffs and realize that, hey, maybe we need someone who can focus just on facilitating the ball so Brandon Ingram doesn't have to do as much, so CJ McCollum doesn't have to do as much. Sure, but you cross that bridge when it comes, and right now Brandon Ingram's playmaking is good enough that they're able to get by. His 5.6 assists per game also include 5.5 high-value assists per 75 possessions, and these high-value assists are assists that lead to threes, shots at the rim, or free throws, which are arguably the most valuable shots you can generate. The ability to facilitate offense the way that Ingram does makes the lives of his teammates objectively easier. Looking at his teammates shooting with him on and off the floor, you can see how much higher of a percentage they shoot when he is on the floor with them facilitating the offense. Now, one player in particular that I want to look at is the two-man game between Brandon Ingram and Jackson Hayes, because that kind of gives us a little bit of a glimpse into what Zion could be capable of alongside Brandon Ingram. I know that we've seen Ingram and Zion play together in the past, but we're yet to see Zion with this particular version of Brandon Ingram that's doing such a great job of being the focal point of the offense and facilitating everything. Now, Jackson Hayes shot 7% better at the rim with Brandon Ingram on the floor versus without him, and it's largely because of Brandon Ingram's ability to operate as the pick and roll ball handler, which would set Jackson Hayes up for easy shots at the rim. Now, Zion is obviously a much better player than Hayes. I don't think that's a very controversial thing to say. But if 𝙖𝙗𝙤 was able to have this much success in the pick and roll with Brandon Ingram, just imagine how much success Zion Williamson is going to have with Brandon Ingram. The Ingram-𝙖𝙗𝙤 pick and roll duo averaged 1.58 points per possession during the regular season this year. Now, if you're wondering if that's good, that's really, really, really good. Over 1.5 points per possession is like basically a guaranteed bucket. If Ingram and 𝙖𝙗𝙤 were able to be so effective together, Zion and Ingram are going to be even more effective. I love the improvements that 𝙖𝙗𝙤 has made to his game over the last year, but he's really just a teaser for what we're going to see when Zion comes back. Now, with Brandon Ingram, there is a little bit of an elephant in the room. Ingram's scoring efficiency has been on a bit of a downward trend over the past 3 years, and I don't want to sit here and make a bunch of excuses for him, but I do think that there are some potential explanations or external factors at play that might help put the decline in his efficiency into a little bit of perspective and maybe provide a little bit of context. Right now, there's not really anyone else on the team that's able to just go out there and get a bucket. That is until they got CJ, and even then CJ is still a very streaky scorer. And the only player that was really being given direct attention on the defensive end was Brandon Ingram. When the only two primary scoring threats for New Orleans were Zion and Ingram, and you take out Zion, all that leaves is Ingram to brunt the scoring burden for them. My point being here is that it's very likely that his efficiency is going to see a significant boost next season once he's playing alongside a guy who has more gravity with his scoring. There are still a lot of takeaways from his scoring game this past season that leaves a lot of room for optimism, and one of the biggest things is how deadly of a mid-range shooter he is. He's legitimately one of the best mid-range shooters in the entire NBA. He shot 46.6% from mid-range on 7.4 attempts per game. That's good enough for the 8th best mid-range efficiency in the NBA of any player attempting 4 or more mid-range shots per game. At a certain point, people are going to realize just how much of a killer Brandon Ingram is from the mid-range. I know the Kevin Durant comparison has been done to death with Brandon Ingram, and it's been happening for years and years now, but I can't help but watch him shoot mid-range shots and not see so much Kevin Durant in it. I actually think the mid-range is making a significant resurgence in the NBA, and especially in the playoffs when the game slows down and you need guys to break guys down off of the dribble and get a bucket. Pelicans are going to be at an advantage having a guy like Ingram to create his own shot in the half court and get a shot off at will. And you add to that his 70% shooting at the rim, and you can kind of look at the lackluster three-point shooting and have a little more patience since he's so effective from basically everywhere else. And the best part is all of this scoring feeds back into his playmaking. The more potent of a scorer that Brandon Ingram is, the easier of a time he's going to have generating offense for his teammates. Not only does he demand defensive attention on his own, but Zion is going to demand a boatload of defensive attention in his own right. These two are going to be massive gravity wells on the offensive end, with defenses having to shell out mountains of energy to try and just contain these two players. In the past, it's either just been Brandon Ingram or it's just been Ingram and Zion, and there weren't really any supplementary pieces around them. Now they have CJ, Herb Jones, Jonas Valanciunas, Jackson Hayes, Trey Murphy, Devontae Graham, and a whole bunch of other promising players that can play off of Ingram and Zion. Ingram is still only 24 years old. He's shown us what he's capable of already, and to act like he's not going to get any better would be ridiculous. If I had to guess, he's not even close to his quote-unquote prime yet, and he's the perfect guy to play alongside Zion Williamson. So do you think that Brandon Ingram will be an all-star next year? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys are new to the channel and you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. That's the #1 way to support me and help me continue to make content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.